Hi, I'm Gerald Patterson, and Gerald Patterson is my name, but it's just my stage name. My real name is Terry Bradshaw. I went to get my hair cut last month, and the lady barber there said, do you remember how we cut your hair last time? And I said, not off the top of my head. But seriously, ladies and gentlemen, I'm calling my speech today Quality Quotations. Quality Quotations Part 1. And this is, of course, not my wisdom, it's the wisdom of the people that I quote. So, quality quotations from my point of view. The art of economics consists in looking at not merely the immediate, but at the longer effects of any act or policy. It consists in tracing the consequences of that policy, not merely for one group, but for all groups. A society that puts equality before freedom will get neither. A society that puts freedom before equality will get a high degree of both. Milton Friedman. One of the worst mistakes is to judge government policies and programs by their intentions rather than by their results. Milton Friedman. I won't insult your intelligence by suggesting that you really believe what you just said. He has occasional flashes of silence that make his conversation delightful. He's a gifted speaker. He has the gift of compressing the largest amount of words into the smallest amount of thought. Never hire an electrician who has scorched eyebrows. Without faith, man becomes sterile, hopeless, and afraid to the very core of his being. Erich Fromm. Why did God give man free will? Free will makes evil and sin possible. But free will is the only thing that makes truth and goodness and joy and peace and love worth having. History has shown again and again that the enemy of the common people is the growth of government power over its citizens. A government that's big enough to give you everything you want is strong enough to take everything you have. From here, from America, a sign of care for the weakest of the weak, the unborn child must go out to the world. Mother Teresa. Oh, what peace and quietness would he possess should he cut off all vain anxiety and place all his confidence in God. Looking at the earth from the vantage point of the moon, looking at this kind of creation and not believe in God is, to me, is impossible. John Glenn. You can believe what you choose. You are answerable for what you choose to believe. Cardinal John Henry Newman. Jerry Seinfeld said this about public speaking. He said, I read that the number one fear of the average person was public speaking. Number 2 was death. To me, that means that to the average person, if you're going to be at a funeral, you would rather be in the casket than doing the eulogy. Now, I'm an average person, And if I had to be at a wedding, a funeral, if I had to be at a funeral, and I had to choose between in the casket and doing the eulogy, I might have to think about it. Aristotle says, happiness belongs to the self-sufficient. Did I just say that? Aristotle said it. No, I didn't say it. Yes, I did. Aristotle says, happiness belongs to the self-sufficient. James 3:16, where there is envy and contentiousness, there is instability in every wicked deed. John 3:16, God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, so that we may not perish, but that we may have eternal life. Saint Irenaeus said, the glory of God is the human person fully alive. And the human person is fully alive when they're beholding God and when they're continually growing. Vernon Law says, when you are through learning, you are through. And Theodore Martin says, when a man or a woman imagines, even after years of striving, that he has attained perfection, his decline begins. The deep truth that work, not money, is the foundational source of dignity. The idea of reaching, quote, a good life. The idea of reaching a good life, it's an idea that I have. The idea of a good life without Christ is based on a double error. Firstly, we cannot do it. And secondly, in setting up a good life as our final goal, we have missed the very point of our existence. C.S. Lewis. If I find in my mind a desire which no experience in this world can satisfy, the most probable explanation is that I was made for another world. After he turned 2 years old, this 2-year-old boy was very anxious because he had doubled his age in a year. He thought, if this keeps up, by the time I'm 6, I'll be 64. Jesus said, these things I have spoken to you, that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be made full. Aristotle teaches that tyrants seek to wear down every excellence in society and to obstruct friendships, especially to obstruct friendships among the best people, on the principle that if you degrade everyone, then people will submit. People who promote and believe in abortion, is this how they think? Everyone alive suffers, no one not living suffers, therefore no one should live. Alexis de Tocqueville, a Frenchman, many years ago came to America, observed Americans. He wrote a book about it. And he said that Americans are so enamored with equality that they would rather have equality in slavery than inequality in freedom. James Allen said, Men and women are anxious to improve their circumstances, and yet they are unwilling to improve themselves. They therefore remain bound. Ronald Reagan said, "I believe the highest aspiration of man is individual freedom, the development of the individual." He said, "I believe there is a sacredness to individual rights." Ben Carson said, "We cannot let secular progressives meaning Democrats, remove God from our lives." Carly Fiorina said, "What God has made of us is God's gift to us. What we make of ourselves is our gift to God." Donald Wuerl said, "Jesus calls us to live in the fullness of His grace." John Kasich talked about the immorality of leaving debt to our children. The immorality of leaving debt, national debt, the insurmountable national debt to our children. I gave a friend of mine my book. It's called The Growth of the Human Spirit. And he said, "I will waste no time in reading your book." Now you can take that two ways. I will waste no time in reading your book. You are never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream. It is as absurd to argue men into believing as it is to torture men into believing. Cardinal John Henry Newman. So I thank you for listening. If you've listened all the way through to the end here, you are remarkable. And this is part 1, even though I recorded it after part 2. But check out also under the name Gerald Patterson, Quality Quotations Part 2. And thank you again.